Warning, what you are about to hear are the thoughts of four ordinary dudes with no agenda and absolutely no filter. Please do not attempt any of this at home and try not to get butthurt. Welcome to the Dude to Dude podcast.
Hey dudes, it's Jimmy.
What's up, guys? It's Maddie.
What's up? It's John.
Hey dudes, it's Billy. And this week we have a guest. Well, Johnny, do you go by Johnny Kayla Young, your full name, or do you go by Johnny Young?
So Kayla's actually my wife. I abandoned Facebook several years ago.
Okay.
And pretty much only adopted all of like my professional pages. So her page was basically the we'll say the place where all of the family photos and all of like the contacts and all that were. And I was like, well, I don't use Facebook anyway. And so because at the time we were married, I was like, well, screw this. I'm not going to use this. And now, you know, she manages and does everything on that. And I usually use it to sell my stuff,
All right.
you know, network and all that little stuff on a couple group pages, but that's about it.
Well, cool, man. All right. So Johnny, originally I kind of caught interest in you because you seem like you had a cool story to tell. You know, some tragedy in there, but it sounds like you've really, you know, made something of yourself, and you know, you want to give inspiration to other people. So, I mean, you can jump right into it, man. Tell us about yourself.
Ooh, man, you got to put me on the spot.
No, you're good. You're good, man. I don't mean to do
you're
that.
all good. No, you're good. Well, I don't even know where to start, man. I feel like everything started back when I got married. I think that was the root of it. Don't let her see this. She'll kill me. I'm trying to think about like a good place to start. I mean, I've had a ton of stuff happen to me.
Well,
I have.
A good spot.
Yeah.
Goodness.
So I
Well,
seen you were
problem.
in.
It's never stopped.
I seen you were in the Marines, man. So tell me a little bit about that.
So I was in the Marine Corps, and actually I was going to go career. That was my original goal. I guess that's going to be a good starting point. Let me take that back.
Perfect.
So I enlisted. I was going to go into, at the time, combat camera, which if you are familiar with combat camera, it's essentially photographer, then videographer in. They say combat, but that's not the reality of it. Occasionally you'll be out, or you'll be deployed, but 90% of the time it's all like your publicity stuff, all the normal PR stuff that you see everywhere. But I ended up missing out on that MOS because who was now my wife, found out she was pregnant. So that kind of threw things off, and then it changed my date to get in, and got in. Aviation electronics maintenance, and that was okay. It wasn't great. Intended to go career until one day, me and a couple of buddies decided we were going to have a couple of drinks, and we were going down some stairs. One of them caught my foot, and I tripped and knocked myself out. And I can still remember this. I was on the fourth to last step, and I fell face first. I got this nasty little scar underneath here, and I woke up like 3 hours later.
They just left you there?
No. They got me. But when I woke up, man, I was so confused. I had no idea where I was at. Apparently in that time, like we had gone to eat and gone and hung out for a little bit, and then I didn't remember a single thing. But when I actually came,
blacked out.
I was gone.
Wow.
So when I actually came to and really started kind of figuring out what was going on, had a couple doctors trying to figure out what was going on, and they tried to say, oh, well, you know, you must have a heart condition. And I was like, no, I know exactly what happened. I could remember what happened. And then it turned into, well, maybe there was something in your brain, because they were rattled by the fact that I couldn't recall the last few hours. So I went to a neurologist, couldn't find anything. And that lasted, or going back and forth between doctors anyway, probably like a month, something like that.
Wow. Okay.
One specialist to the next. Nobody could find anything. So then finally, I basically sat down with my company CEO and Base Medical, and they were like, we can't explain why you missed out on that 3 hours, but falling and knocking yourself out isn't a good enough reason. So we're going to start doing some paperwork to see about getting you out. And then that was kind of where the spiral started.
Okay.
So let's see here.
So
I get home. Oh, go ahead.
Now, you said you and your buddies were out having a couple of drinks. Now, I know the Marines, a couple of drinks can mean, quite a few drinks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for me, so at the time, like when our unit was, like, if we got off base, we were like, we have to know where you are, we have to know what you're doing. My platoon sergeant, who is now since passed, he was a dictator, dude. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
He was a great dude, but he was like, no, if you're gonna go out, like, depending on what you're drinking, like, you have a limit. If we were gonna drink drafts, we had a 3 16-ounce draft limit. Okay. Period. Unless you were on, like, base, which even then you weren't supposed to drink. But this dude would walk out with beer all the time. He'd be like, I can have some, but you just can't. So I just thought it was cool as shit. But no, nothing heavy.
Okay. All right. So
I wish it was, but
well, that's what I was curious about, because I mean, I'm sober now, but I used to drink pretty heavy back in the day, and I'm missing a couple hours.
It'd be a couple bottles.
I'm missing a couple
Don't get me
hours
wrong.
of my life.
I have a few of those, but this was like way different. It was
okay.
Crazy.
All right. So I was just trying to clarify for my own head, man.
I was getting some PTSD just thinking about drinking with my Marine buddies. Like, my buddies that
were in the Marines. Yeah.
It's fucking hard to keep up with you guys.
Man, it depends though, man. After I got home, man, I had to slow down. Me and my wife had problems when I got back home, and I wasn't the same, and that's what it always goes back to that. I mean, you're not the same person. I didn't know you, or I knew you before, but you're not the same person that you were then as you are now. And so I was like, well, all right, I'm gonna have to cut out the drinking, and basically really force myself to basically become a civilian again, and really for the first time kind of be a husband and all that. But yeah, so nothing crazy at least caused that. But yeah, and so kind of, I guess, fast forward a little bit after that, get home, doing my thing, cannot hold a job down for more than 6 months. Like, worst possible experience, like nothing more miserable. I think as a guy, like, when I get into a job, like, it's 110%. Like, I go out and buy everything I need for it. I research and YouTube, whatever, it doesn't matter. Everything. I need to know everything. And at 6 months rolls around, and like clockwork, it was like, oh, we're laying off, or oh, it's not working out, or we're going to go a different direction. I'm like, cool. Well, that is what it is. So we get to, what year was it? 2015, I think. Yeah, about 2015. I started working for a Discount Tire, which now is a little bit, I mean, it's the same company, but they have their own thing going on. But
okay.
I was there for 4 years, and in the last year that I was there, August 24th, 2018 was the exact day. Oddly enough, my wedding anniversary. Went to work. On my way to work, I had this like grandma seizure or whatever. That's how they describe it anyway. Weirdest experience. Wrecked my car. And I wrecked my car probably 8 inches, or if I would have been 8 inches to the right, I would have hit a gas pump.
Oh wow!
But I went, the big pillars that they have, like between, So I hit one of those, destroyed the front end of my car, but it was still drivable. I was only like 2 blocks or so away from where I was working at. So I go inside, everything's fine, get in the car, go to work. And I'm looking at the front end of my car, and I'm like, oh, great, this is just going to be one of those days. I get inside, sit down, and I remember putting my arms up to stretch, and that was the last thing I remember. About 3.5, 4 hours later, I wake up in a hospital because.
What the fuck?
Oh,
Sadness.
for real.
Hold on. He's back.
I lost you. I was
There
like,
we
where'd
go.
it go?
You're just getting to a good part.
I know, for real.
No more
cliffhanger.
bad juju because the shit seems to fucking follow you.
Yeah, apparently. I don't know. Okay, so what was the last thing you
You
heard?
stretched up, and
yeah, and
3 or
ended
4
up in
hours
a
later, you're
hospital.
waking up in a hospital.
Cool. Well, not cool, but yeah.
Yeah, not cool at all, dude.
So I ended up finding out that I had a full-blown, like, exactly what you would think, seizure.
Grand mal seizure.
First, and this was like, this was definitely not a grand mal seizure. This was like, I mean, they were like, you were foaming at the mouth kind of thing.
No,
like it was
grand
bad.
grand mal, not grandma.
Oh, there you
Grand
go. There
mal
you go. There you
is
go.
the worst kind of seizure you can have. I know this because I have a friend
Okay.
who's got epilepsy, and that's
So,
the thing I worry about with him all the time.
so you're
I got you.
seizing up kind of on a regular basis at this point.
No,
This
not
is
even.
just the first
that
one.
was my first.
Okay.
That was the first and the last seizure that I've ever had.
Okay.
Well,
And
holy
so-
shit!
Oh, it was insane. Gets worse though. When I woke up with like a really distorted memory. Like I had no idea like where I was. Well, I mean, pretty normal, but like I looked at my wife, and this is after like a couple minutes of talking to her, and I said, "I know that you're my wife, but I don't know who you are, and it's not going to bother me if I walk out of here without you." And it freaked her out.
Wow.
I mean, it was freaking me out. But we dealt with that for, gosh, probably 18, 19, 20, 21. We dealt with that for about 3 years.
Wow.
man.
Where it didn't really come back. But then I was like, I'm going to hold out. I feel like I know that this is going to work itself out. But then it didn't. It did. It was crazy. So, yeah. So we had that seizure. Fast forward. Let me see here. Probably. Well, we'll just say like over the 3 years after that.
Well, hold on.
Me and
Do you mind if I interrupt you? It's because I'm kind of
Yeah, go
confused.
ahead.
So
Yeah, I got a question or two myself.
yeah, for 3 years you lived with your wife and didn't know who she was. Is that
no.
or did
I knew
misunderstand?
who she.
You had like a partial
when I-
recollection.
Yes. So like I knew that she was
Wild.
my wife. I had history. Like I could like it was all laid out before me. So like seeing Facebook pictures, friends, family. Like yes, this is your wife. Like
So like
you're married.
you had like a 51st dates kind of moment.
Yeah,
Where,
almost exactly.
where they
like
have to
Wow.
explain to her every day when she wakes up,
Yeah.
this is your life.
So okay, so
That's nuts.
And
Holy shit.
now it wasn't to that it wasn't to that extent.
Well,
It
yeah,
was
no,
like,
but
the way I explain it is like if my brain knew like this is supposed to be your wife, but if there's like an emotion side of it, there was absolutely nothing. Like
Wow.
I didn't care, and I was ready to walk away.
Something
And
in your
that
brain was not connecting.
so
Oh, yeah.
So for 3 years, were you like trying to re-fall in love with each other? Were you? I guess I'm curious as to how that went emotionally for you and your wife. If you don't mind getting into it, I know it's got to be kind of
no,
personal.
it's fine now.
That's fucking wild.
It was, man, it was tough because what I ended up doing, I ended up completely burying it after probably about the first year. We stopped talking about it. I stopped dealing with it. I was like, something about it. Like I'm gonna get normal. Or I'm gonna get right,
You're
and
gonna push
it
through
just
it.
didn't happen. And so like the first year we were trying to do like therapy or whatever we could. I mean, we had friends, family. I mean, we did like seeking help at like a church that we had been going to for a little bit. Nothing was helping. And it was, I think for her, like she thought after that first year that everything was okay, but I didn't tell her. And I mean, she everything like relationally, really on the outside looked fine, but on the inside, I was like, yeah, I don't care. And then once we got outside of, well, probably that first 2 years after. So we were dealing with everything in that first year, trying to get back to normal. We couldn't. That second year and towards the end of that first year, I was like, holy cow, I can find myself like, I can connect with anybody. I can talk to anybody. I can have a great time. And my wife hated that because the majority of people that I would work with just so happened to be women, because I'd already left Discount Tire at the time.
Gotcha.
And I ended up going and working for another company. And, you know, if there's anything that I've learned over, you know, or at least in my history, is women don't give a shit about what you look like. It's like how you act. It's how you conduct yourself. It's confidence, all that. And
I've been trying to tell
I'd always had that.
These guys for years, man. It's all about confidence.
Like,
not so much
now,
John.
dude, I'm a goofy
John's
looking
been married
dude.
for 30
Okay, and
years.
Jimmy and me have both been in a relationship for.
Yeah, Jimmy, you too. And Matt, okay, all right. So
Yeah.
maybe not these guys, but a lot of guys.
You trying to get me a
you're not
girlfriend, bro?
telling us.
You know my wife. She'll
No,
kill us
yeah,
both.
I was going to say.
For real.
Same
you
goes for
can
me.
watch this and be like, yeah, I get it. I do.
She's like, so when you go with the guys,
Yeah. But yeah, and you know, that caused like a lot of issues because I was like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. Like, I'm just being nice. I'm being, confident in the work that I do. People, show up, and this isn't like it's just like men and women or just women showing up. We had a pretty equal split workforce everywhere I was at, and I did worked great with everybody that I worked with, but it just so happened that the ones that continually made an effort were women, and I was like, when you're at work, like I go into a work mode, like I don't care. Like,
Yeah, and
we can bullshit and all that.
Relatable.
But,
what were you doing for work at that point?
so I actually, after I left Discount Tire, I started working as, they call it like a production lead or whatever. I don't know if they've changed it since then, but I started working at Carvana.
Okay.
So I was like in charge of, let's see, at the time, probably about 40 to 50 people. So your mechanics, your lube techs, your tire changers kind of thing, like where you're breaking tire technicians. And that department didn't really have women in it, but every other department, when we went on break, like it drove people insane because I could sit down and the next thing you know, the table was literally just like 5-6 girls would show up. And next thing you know, we're in a full-blown conversation. And I'm like, I just wanted to eat my lunch.
Right.
And it just turns into a whole thing.
Hanging out with the girls now.
Yeah. And it turned into a whole thing. And, what was funny is like my brother worked there before I did. Then I got a job there for my brother-in-law. And, there are these guys around me that like hold me accountable, and it still was an issue. And I was like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. I'm not doing anything wrong, but it's turning into I'm doing something wrong. So we kind of fast forward out of that. I think I ended up leaving there. I went and worked at Harley Davidson as a technician because management was drinking on the job, and I wasn't down for that. So, so I started working at Harley. We had moved, had some friends move in with us because they were in a bad situation. And so we ended up, I don't know, we were with them for like a year. So over that year, which was, I'm trying to think, I think it was about 2020 into 2021, I believe. Yeah, 2020, 2021. So it was during the shutdown and all that stuff, the COVID-19 and all that. It was one of my buddies that I grew up with, I was in the Marine Corps with. And then, sorry, I got a notification on my phone on the computer. So they were living with us with their 2 kids. Me and my wife had 2 kids, and she was pregnant with her 3rd. And, which I still really don't know how it happened, but or at least how we got back to that point. But over like the first half of the year, everything was okay. second half of the year, there was some tension that was building. We had a lot of stuff going on in the house. We were in and out. We had 4 adults, 4 different jobs, 4 kids in the house, going on 5. Only 3 of them were mine.
Wow, that is a crowded house.
So
that gets nutty fast.
Well, it was crazy, but it was a huge house. I mean, this was
helps.
like, it was like 5. It was a 5-bedroom house with like 3 baths, like a 3-car garage.
Okay, so everyone still kind of gets their own
set.
space. Yeah.
And me and he ended up becoming like my best friend. We were pretty close. We would go out. We actually were in a motorcycle club for a while. And then I got out of it because I started seeing some pretty shady stuff happening. I was like, man, I'm not going down for this stuff.
Right.
Like,
right.
I got some kids. So then he followed suit, and me and his wife got close, but like this was over the course of this whole year, and things were good. I mean, for everybody in the house. Well, then her and her husband started having problems, and so me and my wife tried to play, matchmaker, essentially get them to work through their stuff because neither one of them could communicate. So then their problems bled over into ours, and in February, I believe it was, of 2021, I'd come home from work, and my wife was packing all of her stuff up with all of her family and had me load my kids in the car, said she couldn't take any more, and she was gone.
Wow.
And
Damn, man.
yeah, so we had already had all kinds of issues and arguments and little things that built up, and I had already expressed to her at that point, like, it came out. I was like, I don't feel it. Like, I'm not changing. Like, this problem's been going on, and I haven't been able to fix it. So, that's kind of where that led to, or what led up to that. And then that night, I was like, all right, screw it. Like, at this point, I drink a whole bottle of anything I can get my hands on, and I did. So at this point, I'm like, whatever. I'm completely gone. So the next day, I'm like, okay, I don't even know what happened. Like, trying to figure everything out. And so at this time, my best friend, his wife, he was gone, and they were both divorced. And then my wife left. And actually, I still don't even truly know, like, what the, straw that broke the camel's back was. Like, she doesn't talk about it, and she won't tell me. So we ended up staying together, at least to, spoil some of that story. But
no, good. I'm happy for you, man.
And it took a while. I mean, we lived apart for like a year, I think, before we got back together. But after everything like settled down, like a couple days or whatever, my best friend's ex-wife now was still living at the house that I was staying in because she was moving back to North Carolina. So at this point, we're like, okay, what the heck's going on? So I'm still hanging out with my buddy. I'm still hanging out with her. I'm trying to figure out how I can see my kids and how I can figure out what I need to do with my wife. And I'm like, all right, screw it. So apparently, it was a good idea at the time. So she was getting ready to leave for North Carolina. We had her all packed, and this is my buddy's wife, or my buddy's ex-wife. So she come and got everything packed and everything. So then her mom's in town to help pack. We ended up deciding that we're going to have like this little like party or whatever the night before she's going to be leaving. I get so drunk. Next day, I wake up. She's in the bed next to me.
Oh,
and I was like, holy shit.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Whoops.
Man, it was, those moments, right?
And then you don't even remember it either.
Pretty much.
That's
the worst part.
It's kind of like the worst part.
Well, I don't even think that's the worst part, because the real bad part is like sober, I didn't find her attractive at all.
Oh.
And if you were to compare her and my wife, they are like night and day difference, and their body types are completely different. Like, I don't want to sound superficial here, but my wife has She's got an ass, and she's got a great rack, and she holds herself together. And when she does put on weight, the weight goes exactly where I want it to. And this other woman, I mean, she was literally built like a fucking upside down triangle. So I couldn't put it together. Yeah.
I look
I know,
like a
and I'm so
chauvinistic
sorry.
laughing.
And listen, I don't even think I think that whole like chauvinistic stuff, like I don't even believe it anymore, because women do the exact same thing to men. They just aren't.
It's not even
audible
that,
about it,
man.
but they-
It's, you find someone attractive or you don't, man. It has nothing to do with
exactly.
chauvinistic. Like, I'm sorry
so-
that if women of a certain shape and size are found less attractive by the majority of people, but that's not.
And we'll just say it's a
That's
preference.
evolution.
It's a preference.
That's
Yes.
an evolutionary
and that's
preference.
exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Sorry.
So my question though is, do you think she played you by getting you hammered and then sleeping with you?
Oh, I'm not done yet.
Okay. All right. Cool.
I'm not done yet.
All right.
All right, yeah,
This is bullshit. I should have
This is
something
getting-
stronger than water.
Yeah, this is getting very interesting.
You want the captain?
Are we gonna steal a boat?
Are we gonna steal a boat? I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Johnny.
Do you got any boat stealing stories so far?
Me or him?
He's got all the juicy drama right now.
Listen, I don't have any boat stealing stories, but
No.
I'm pretty sure I
Yet.
could come up on one. Yet.
All right. So, yeah, continue on. So you wound up in bed with basically your
Buddy's
your
ex-wife.
buddy's ex-wife. At the time,
Yeah.
it was his wife, right?
No, they were already divorced.
Okay,
Paperwork and
okay.
everything was done, and he had been out of the house for months by that time. And
Okay.
Part of me is like, I get it. Like, if you're sexually frustrated and you're like, there's somebody in the house of the opposite sex, and I'm going to use them. That's one thing. But like when they're blackout drunk, and the part that does scare me a little bit is that her mom was also in the house. I mean, her mom was totally apparently okay with it, but I'm just praying to God that was never a thing where she was in the bed.
Oh, geez.
You're always worried about that.
Wow.
Because we all were drinking. We were all goofing off.
All right, Johnny, hold on one
Yeah,
second,
it-
man. You froze up on our end.
Your video froze, yeah.
Yeah, gotta love it, man. Would you mind trying to back out and then back in for us?
Sure thing.
Thanks, man. I hate Streamlabs. We got to find something better than this.
This is a rough interview to go through with this stuff, too.
Yeah, man. There he is. You definitely got an interesting story. There we are, Johnny. We're good.
All right, so now it's my
Cool.
turn for a question. So you thought her and the mom were in the bed?
It's
No,
something
no.
he's better
He
than
hopes.
mine.
He hopes not. He doesn't really know.
Yes, I hope not.
Poor
I don't
man.
think so. I don't,
There's a word
because I
for
remember
that.
hearing,
It's called hat trick.
I don't know, man.
That's that
Right,
marine.
hat
That's
trick.
that marine swagger. That's almost bragging rights.
well,
So this one
okay,
time-
so my buddy, the one, or my best friend at the time, the one that was, they had just gotten a divorce, right?
Right.
Her mom tried pursuing him and didn't get him. And then somehow, like a year or two later, him and who would become his wife, and then at the time of my story was his ex-wife, they had gotten together. And the two of them date the exact same kinds of people. And they have a rule that if one does anything with a guy, that person becomes off limits to the other. Yeah,
What a concept, man.
it's so weird.
my
They
head
got
the
a
fact that
close
as a-
relationship.
You think?
My head hurts trying to wrap.
Are they from Wisconsin or like Kentucky?
North Carolina. North Carolina.
Close enough.
Yeah, that explains
pretty
it.
close to
Yeah, and they're-
West Virginia.
Oh, yeah. Like, as soon as I'm out
Close
of
enough
West
for a hand
Virginia,
grenade.
I can drive like 30 minutes to, or maybe it's a little bit longer than that. It's probably like an hour south and just out of West Virginia. And then I'm at their house. So
Wow,
they're
okay.
right there.
Yeah.
See, that makes
Yeah.
sense. That wasn't the area that I lived in.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was nuts. So then they leave. They go back down to North Carolina, and at this point, I'm living by myself. I just moved into this other apartment, which was really nice. It was kind of expensive, but it is what it is. So I I struggle getting a job at first because I worked at this other shop, and this is in that time when I was at this house when everybody was there. During the shutdown, my wife and I had our third baby, and he was sick one day. So I started staying home with him because my wife was doing. Was she still working there? Yeah, she was working as like a medical assistant or something. And I was out for 3 days for work. Come in on a Monday, and my service manager grabs me and is like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" I'm like, "Well, I'm here to work. What else? Like, I don't understand." And so he's like, "Well, we have a problem." And I was like, "Well, what's that? What's the problem?" I was like, "I mean, are you trying to fire me or something?" He goes, "No." He goes, "Your tools and your toolbox are gone." And keep in mind, like, what was it, a triple? Yeah, it was a triple bay. So, it was like I don't know, like like 6 to like 8 foot long snap-on toolbox with a hutch. So, and it was, if I stood up, it was easily like, I don't know, I think it's like 8 feet tall or something, like 7 feet tall.
Yeah,
something like
you had a full box.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. All of it, everything was gone. I had outside of just the toolbox, it was probably about.
Sold a
It was
kidney.
more than that. It was more. I was probably sitting on about 50. I was sitting on about $50,000 to $70,000 worth of tools.
Wait, what?
Somebody pulled up in a Mack truck and just ghosted your shit.
Well, here's what had apparently happened. So a guy rolls up and walks through like the front, and he goes, "I need to talk to the service manager." Goes to the service manager. He tells him, "Hey, somehow this person knew my name." He goes, "Well, they're not going to be working here. I need to come in and pick up the tools so I can take them to the new shop," because he told him I was quitting or whatever. And I said, "Did you not think to vet that information before you let this random guy pack my tools in his truck?"
Fucking
they were like, "No,
right?
we had no reason to." And it was
What do you
all
mean you had
because
no reason to?
Common sense.
That's
would
fucking
dictate
60 or
like-
70 grand in tools. What the fuck?
So because I was out of work for 3 days the week before, when I told them I was going to be out because my son was sick, and he was a newborn, so it's not like I could, leave him or
that's
give him to somebody.
Right.
And my wife was breast pumping just to make sure that he'd have what he needed while I was taking care of him because she was back at work. And they were just like, "Oh, yeah, we just thought you quit because you hadn't been here." And I was like, "I called in. You knew that I was gone. Like, what do you want me to do?" And so, yeah. So that was a huge pride hit. I spent years building those tools.
That's
Oh,
That's fucking heartbreaking, man. Any guy in the whole fucking world feels that fucking hurt.
100%.
oh, it was so bad.
Especially
and then
And that's your livelihood on top of it. That's not even like, just my tools here in the basement that I use for doing whatever around the house. Like, that's your fucking livelihood.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking about the $700-800 worth of tools maybe that I got invested right now. Where if I just rolled up into work and my shit was gone,
I'd be pissed.
someone would fucking pay. Like,
I'd
I'd
be
lose my
pissed.
shit.
So, okay, so that was going to be my next question. Did they pay for that?
Did you call the cops?
Insurance?
Like, yeah, what happened? What was the next?
So called the cops. I have a little bit of an in, we'll say. So my brother's getting ready to marry I think he's like third or fourth in charge of the department, which he's over in the Indianapolis Police Department in Indiana. And it is a huge department. So being like number 4 is out of like
it's a big
several thousand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big job.
And so my brother's getting ready to marry his daughter. So I called him, and he sent people out that he knows and filed a police report. The shop itself doesn't cover like tool insurance at all. So they said that they didn't have to cover it. And it turned into a whole thing. I went to an attorney, took it to the attorney. Attorney sent some paperwork over to them. Their attorney sent it back and said, well, there's nothing you can do. And if you do take this to court, we're going to essentially countersue is really what was going to happen. And I was like, you're going to countersue for letting someone steal my tools. So you're going to basically double the damage. And yeah, it was horrible.
That's wild.
So those tools, yeah. So those ended up gone. I just let them go because at that point I was like, well, what are you going to do? Because I can't afford to be drug out in court. Right. And I also can't afford to replace those tools in one chunk, which I ended up like 2 days later. They said I had 72 hours to replace all my tools or I was terminated. And that ended up happening because I was like, how am I going to replace all of these tools?
That sounds like some
It
inside.
took a lifetime to build. You don't replace it in three fucking days.
Did you go to the news about this? Did you go to any sort of media about this?
This would have blown up.
At the time.
This would have blown the fuck up.
Because thinking about how they
there'd
set
have been
that
a manhunt
up,
for the motherfucker who took your tools.
So there's a guy that used to he might still work there, I don't know, but there was a guy there, man, that I remember if I bought tools from like Snap-on, for instance, I didn't like to pay unless I had the money. So I didn't like to put anything on credit or anything like that.
Right. So those were bought and yours.
Oh yeah. So when I did have money, when I would buy tools or whatever, I'd buy the weirdest shit. So like everybody gets red, they get black, they get green, whatever others. But if I could find the pink tool, I bought a pink tool. If they had like the bright neon yellow, that's what I bought.
So
because I was the
fucking smart.
And people thought it was crazy, but like I had one guy that was always like, "Oh, what'd you get? What'd you get?" And I just remember going back in like a couple weeks later because I had to go get like a final check or something, and I was gonna go pick up. I guess they left like one of the trays that I was using, so I was gonna go pick that up. That was confirmed to have still been there. And it was missing by the time I went back. And I know the guy. Yeah, I know the guy. And I also told myself if I run into the guy, I was like, he's not going to make it at all.
Boy, hell no.
I think I know. But
it sounds like someone took an opportunity just to steal your shit. Like, right.
That's fucked up. I'm sorry about that, dude. Like that's
it sucked at the time.
Fuck.
And that was in the midst of all the like me and my wife having our problems.
The drama at the house, yeah. Holy fuck, dude. That's like your fucking life falling apart, basically, is what it feels like. That's terrible.
Wow.
Yeah, so we got I ended up like basically letting it go. I was like, I can't afford to keep this drug out anymore. And so in my infinite, I guess, amount of pride, I'm like, I have to go get some kind of job. And the only thing that I could get where people were like, oh, you don't have to have tools, at least in the area that I was living at, was a Texas Roadhouse as a waiter. Oh. And so I went from basically, I was at the time I was a master technician, so ASC certified. Like I had my A1 through my A8, I had my A9, I had my L1, and I was getting my L3. So just all these certifications to work on all kinds of stuff.
Right.
And I went down. I was making like $35 a flag hour. So if a job, I don't know if you're familiar with flag hours or not, but
it's like flat rate. Jobs
flat rate, yeah, and
I'd
have 15-hour jobs done in 8 hours because I'm because I'm already a small guy, so I got pretty creative. I was like, if I can do it, I'm gonna do it. If I need to cut my arm a little bit, like I'm gonna do it because I'm not gonna
tight spaces. Yeah,
exactly. And it just was like a huge hit to my pride. I was like, I still have to work, but like, I'm going in just defeated. Like I'm going to be a waiter. I'm going to serve all these people.
Bottom.
Almost there. Not quite there yet.
Oh shit!
It gets worse,
Jesus.
dude. I know. I know, but it starts turning up after that. So
obviously you're here. Thankfully.
So, man, I'll tell you what. There a couple of times I was like, nope. I was like, that's it. I don't want to do this anymore. So I do that, and I'm in that time I'm like struggling. Like I can't pay my bills. I can't like go out and do anything. And then during that time, after that, or after the tools were stolen, I was working at this as a waiter. I had 2 cars, both of which got repossessed because I couldn't make the payments anymore.
Right.
You know.
After I I talked to the bank and I'd asked for getting extensions and figure out what I needed to do, and they were like, yeah, sorry, don't care. So get the cars repossessed, and I'm like, God damn, like something's got to give.
Right.
It didn't. So it didn't.
Crushing hopes and dreams
so
over here.
Man, I'll tell you, it felt like it. So me and my wife kind of started like being around each other a little bit more because she had the kids, and I'd go over and spend time with them. And after a while, it started feeling like we were kind of like trying to date again. And so it kind of helped move things along. And I actually found out like over time, I was like, okay, yeah, like I feel something for this girl. I want to actually be with her. And then, we ended up staying together.
Cool.
But right before we started dating again, I get a call from that girl that says, hey, I'm pregnant.
No.
Oh.
Yes. And do you want to know the worst part? Okay. Her and her ex-husband they'd done IVF. They had done they were on the verge of artificial insemination. Could not get pregnant. I had sex with her one time, and she's pregnant. And then after that, I'm like, well, it seems fishy, like, because there's some time has gone by, and I hadn't heard anything, didn't know anything. So then I'm like, all right, well, let's start having the conversation then. I'm not going to do anything about it now. Then I tell my wife, like before we're back together, and she's fucking pissed at me. Like you would not believe.
I would believe it.
And yeah. And, we decided like it was one thing, like if I cheated on her, but she's like, you didn't just cheat on me. You got somebody pregnant. I'm like, well, it's not like I did it on purpose, but fine. Okay. So, we go through all this crap, and, I start having a conversation with this girl because I'm like, all right, well, if I'm the dad, then, I need to do everything I can to be there. Well, then it gets to overtime. So we'll kind of come back to her, but me and my wife start dating again. Things are looking great. And then I decide I'm going back to school. And I'm like, I gotta do something. So I actually ended up going back to school for cinematography, which is way left compared to what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I started doing that. I actually found out I was really good at it. Started my own company that was kind of focused on like weddings and event videography and special event stuff. Nothing fancy yet, because I was like, my toes aren't, I want to dip my toes in, but I don't want to like go overboard. I'm still learning all this stuff.
You're familiar with the tech and what it's capable of.
Yeah. And so we start doing that, and then the conversation kind of continues where I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to be a dad in North Carolina, so I need to start figuring that out. So we get to a point where she's like, hey, I'm about to find out what I'm having. And at this point, we'd had some conversation about what we wanted that to look like and how we were going to make that work. So I go down there, I get the paperwork or whatever from the doctor that has the gender on it. And I was the first one to know that I was having a little girl. I was the first person to buy anything for her. Well, first person to buy for what I knew was a girl anyway. And so like things are, whatever, they're good. And at this time, me and my wife are back together. Like she knows I'm there. She knows what's going on. Like everything's kind of settled down. But then all of a sudden there's this shift. where I start being told you're not going to be a dad at all to this little girl unless you leave your wife, you leave your other kids, which at that point I had 3 already, that with my wife, and be a full-time dad to our daughter in North Carolina. But that my kids could come and visit though.
Fuck out of here. What the fuck?
Yeah. And so at this point, like me and my who was my best friend, like he's pissed at me, like, cause I came clean and I told him, I was like, I don't know what happened, but this is what happened. And he was like, all right, I don't know what to do. And he split, and he still like talks to my family and a couple of our like mutual friends. And, you know, he's not over that hump yet. And I don't expect him to, cause I get it. I'd be in the same boat. I'd be like, fuck this guy. But you know, at the same time, I'm like, dude, look at what she fucking did. She stole thousands of dollars from him for her to go and do whatever with, because she had already been planning her divorce the entire time. Like, she blamed him for their miscarriages. She said they were all his fault. She'd had 3 of them with this guy.
Wow.
And I mean, she was just a horrible,
she sounds like a
human
straight
being.
fucking psycho. And believe me, I know from experience.
She is.
Well, I mean, she raped him. I mean, that's kind of enough to say there.
I mean, yeah, no.
You're not wrong, Matt.
I mean, call the kettle black. I mean, to flip the fucking tables. I mean,
she sounds like a demon. I mean, woman that I know from my past is what it sounds like.
She is literally, like, to this day, is the bane of my existence. Like, if I could take everything back, I would have been like, I'm not going to drink this at all.
Right.
I would have left it alone. I would have gone back in my bedroom. Hell, I probably would have locked my doors.
Right.
If I needed to buy a fucking deadbolt, I probably would have done.
Right. Y'all have a good night. Leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah. And so, you know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So you haven't had an opportunity to meet your daughter then?
I have.
You have?
I have.
Okay.
So she was born November 20th. She's coming up on her 2nd birthday now. And in the entire time that she's been born, so I drove down to go see her the day that she was born. Or I'm sorry, not the day that she was born. It was, trying to think. Yeah, it was like the day she was born, or I went down there early or something. The timing's weird because my son, my youngest son, he was born 2 days before my daughter was born.
Wow.
But the year prior. So they're literally 367 days apart.
Wow.
And so I go down on the day that my son's having his first birthday party to meet my daughter. I get stonewalled at the hospital down there, escorted out by police, because what I'm pretty confident now is because she didn't want me to sign the birth certificate, and she had changed the name that we both agreed on because she didn't like that it came from me, because I told her I wasn't going to be with her. I was going to stay with my wife, and she did not like that.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Psycho.
I ended up, I sleep in my car for a few days. She's like, I don't know when I'm going to get out, because she was having blood pressure problems. So I was like, I'm just going to go home. I'm going to go home. When you get back, when you get settled, I'll come back. I do that. And as I'm basically, 4 hours away, she's like, oh, we're going to have you in now. I'm like, you knew I was leaving. Don't do this. So I come back probably like a week later, something like that. I meet her. I'm only down there for a couple days, go back home. Can't make it through the holidays because my car broke down that I did have. Had it in the shop, all this other bull crap that was going on. And it was under warranty, and so I was waiting for all this stuff to start moving.
The red tape.
But then she tells me, yeah. And so then she tells me one day, it was like February 17th, I think it was. She texted me and said, I've replaced you as her dad because he's doing more than you ever could or that you ever would. And I was like, all right. So I took her to court. Me and my attorney basically went after her. My attorney ended up being a pushover and saying, oh, you'll never win custody because you're the dad. I kept him because I needed representation, but I was like, I am running this show from now on. You're not making any decision without me. You're not going to say anything unless I approve of it.
You're just the mouthpiece now.
That's it. That's all he was. So I ended up framing things in a way that my attorney was going to take my daughter from her, and that she'd only have her like, once every other month, basically. And she was like, oh my God. And she was scared because she thought it was for real. And then we ended up going to mediation because it was required by the court. And by that time she was like, I want to do joint legal and physical custody. I don't want to do anything. She needs to have her dad, blah, 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 blah. So in court, I ended up winning that. And I got joint legal and physical custody of my daughter, when the attorney literally, flipped his lid about because, well, I guess in a positive way, however you want to say it, but because it'd never been done ever in the state of North Carolina to get joint legal and physical custody that way after having nothing through mediation.
It's fucking
wow. Good for you then.
North Carolina is one of the harder states. Like New York's hard, especially coming from like a dad perspective. I've been through some shit too.
But it does
at least in
happen
that
New York.
regard.
It does happen in New York because my dad got custody of me.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like New York is hard enough, but like what I'm saying is like North Carolina is
good
way
for you.
fucking
Man.
worse.
It's pretty rough. So then, let's see. I don't remember it exactly. Oh no. So we started like building our visitations. And so, because I agreed, like I'd not really been able to spend time with her. So, we built like a schedule basically I would have her a couple days here, then I'd have her a few more days here and a few more days here. And that kind of got put to a halt in October 17th, actually, when my house burnt down.
Oh,
Fuck.
dude.
Yeah. I lost, me and my wife happened to be up. I was doing something some kind of assignment for school. And the next thing you know, we hear people yelling, not sure what's going on. And, I casually walk over to the door, open it, look outside. And, I preface it by, it's really an apartment, whatever, like just, I guess, an act unnaturally or whatever, say it's in a house or whatever. But so we're living in an apartment and I just walk outside. I'm like, I was like, the apartment's on fire. That's great. And it's like rolling, like, engulfed by this point. So I come back inside, close the door, tell my wife, go get the kids and get out. And she's like, what? I'm like, go do what I just told you to do. And you have 5 seconds to grab the baby. We had just had our newborn daughter. So it was our first daughter. So this is now daughter number 2 for me. And so she gets the boys, runs outside. And I'm like, hell no. So I'd already built up some like equipment, built up partially another business. And I told myself, I am not letting this thing go down in the ground, because I won't be able to get anything back. I run into this house or apartment and I start throwing, and I'm glad I did it. I put everything in like Pelican cases, or all my equipment in it. I started throwing them through the back door, just like chucking them as hard as I could.
Oh, yeah.
And I got most of the stuff out, but nothing like major. I still ended up losing like, I think it was roughly about $30,000 in equipment, which was still, it was another hit. And then our insurance, our renter's insurance, I guess, dropped the day before the fire because we had changed. We had changed debit cards because somebody had got a hold of our PIN or whatever, and they didn't have it. We didn't think to update it.
And it never went through.
Yeah.
Dude, who the fuck is out to get you, bro?
For real, somebody's cursed your ass, dude.
I think so. I'm telling you. It's insane. It's wild. So I lose the house. I lose everything we have. And
the floor.
Yeah. And now this was kind of like, we were still kind of getting settled. We'd only been in this apartment for a couple months. We had spent like before we got into this apartment, after my daughter was born, we spent like 2 weeks at Riley Children's Hospital because my daughter started having seizures.
Oh, goddamn.
Yeah. And hers ended up having an explanation. somehow she developed a virus in her brain in utero or whatever.
Damn,
and it took him a week and a half to figure it out.
Fucking A.
And like she had like a lumbar puncture. She had like, I mean, EEGs. I mean, this little tiny thing. I mean, she was tiny, and I mean, just it was horrible. So we worried about her and smoke inhalation and all that, but we ended up moving forward a little bit. We ended up having to move in with her mom, which was luckily in the same apartment complex we were in, and which that's a nightmare in itself because her whole family hates that we're still together to this day. And I'm like, that's none of my business, but whatever.
Sounds like a you problem, people.
Oh, trust me, they don't care. They think that I am like Satan himself because I don't show them my good side because they don't treat me with any kind of respect. But my wife's the only one that gets it, which is why she's still around. So then we just kind of like move on and things start settling down a little bit. And since then, I'm trying to think of everything that's happened since then. So I have 2 other companies since then. So the first one, which was like wedding and event, started another company that was really more so like for like narrative film and TV, which is really not necessarily a business so much as is like a business name or me as a DBA basically, or my name as a DBA.
Okay.
And then another company, which I have 3 business partners that we cover everything from like corporate to industrial to commercial to basically full in-house production studio for short films and features and all that fun stuff.
That's awesome, man.
That is pretty cool.
And then right now, or as of right now, kind of going back to my oldest daughter, her mom took me back to court. Actually, she didn't take me back to court. She surprised me by going to court for permanent removal because she didn't feel that my wife was, or that my daughter was safe around my wife. So because I stayed married, oh yeah. So I can't remember what the order's called, but it's like a extrapolating circumstance, order or something. I wish I could remember it. But essentially kept it in the dark long enough to get to court. I didn't get a notification until the day before court after I got home at like 10 o'clock at night.
Oh yeah. Gotta love when they do that.
So
wow.
And so when I checked the mail, came in, opened it up, I had a summons for that next day, which I couldn't have even driven to get like there in time. And essentially they awarded her full legal and physical custody. And as of February 13th, I haven't seen or heard from my daughter.
I'm sorry, dude.
That's terrible.
My heart breaks for you, man.
And
that's fucking rough.
There's got to be something you can do about that, though. Like, not being able to, like, you didn't get the summons until, like, you couldn't.
As sad as it is, that's fucking normal, dude.
Well, the bad thing is that in the state of North Carolina, all communication, all extensions or rescheduling of court dates
goes to the mother.
Because at the time, not necessarily the mother, but opposing counsel's attorney gets to decide that. So, I mean, essentially, yes. So if she's not willing to postpone because of your late notification, she doesn't have to. So her attorney, essentially, he's a divorce attorney. So he treated it like we were like being or separating or whatever. So he in his order, which is, this makes me laugh, it requests for alimony. It requests for any fees that the mother feels that she's entitled to, any fees that are associated with court costs and attorney fees, all of it. She wanted everything. And so I called my attorney that I did have down there, and I was like, hey, I'm going to, this is all the stuff. What's going on? So he ended up calling him and telling him, you can't legally do this. Like, that's not going to happen.
They're not
like,
married.
If you do this. Yeah. And he wasn't, luckily I didn't have to pay him for it, but he was like, no, like, this is an issue in our system. But apparently, yeah, that's a regular thing down there. You have to go through or at least in my case, I had to go through my daughter's mother's attorney to be able to do anything. And they were like, oh, well, this is what's going to happen and you're going to deal with it. So that's where I'm at.
Unreal, man.
Well,
fucking
dude, it's insane. And I mean, all I can do now is, educate myself on the law, which is, a lot of work, but that succeed. I mean, take care of my other kids, never give them a reason to want anything else other than, me being their dad, essentially. And at some point, if by me taking her back to court and getting exactly what I want and proving all of her wrongdoings, or when she's older, I'll get it back. I mean, that's all I can do, but kind of is what it is.
Yeah.
It's a crappy situation and it's shitty that guys have to deal with this, but my wife's family, every single one of them, married, divorced, taken the dad to basically custody court to take him for everything they're worth.
Wow.
And every one of them got it. And my wife is the only one that, even while we were separated, said not happening. And her family hates her for it.
Because she stood her ground for her beliefs.
Not again, man.
It's Streamlab shit, man. Let me tell you.
All right, let's see here, because it's black screened. It didn't even
double click the collab cam.
Yeah, but we can't hear him either now, so I would assume that was a full-blown disconnect. Oh,
is he back?
There we go. What the heck?
Dude, I thought your house like imploded or something.
Yeah, like what the hell?
It just went boom. That was weird.
Sorry, man.
Are you on a submarine?
No, it's all good.
Does this happen normally with you with the technology, like the bugs and stuff?
It does happen normally with us, so I don't think
I know, but like he seems to have some seriously fucked up shit following him.
I'm starting to think this guy's ancestors and mine were like on the same boat raiding villages because his.
Have you ever been to like a voodoo witch doctor or something, bro?
No, I'm thinking I need to though. Thinking I need to. But what's funny is like I deal with all this stuff, right? I don't know why. I don't really care why. It's annoying. It's frustrating as fuck. But, a lot of it has like, at least for me and my wife, like now, like I couldn't imagine having to be with anybody else because we've dealt with some heavy shit, like some seriously heavy shit.
It's right, man.
And then, I probably cherish my kids a little bit more than I did before, especially after like having to fight for my daughter, and now being in a situation I've completely lost her for reasons that I don't even understand or that I can't explain. And, I've got a few businesses that are growing and, like I'm pretty dang good at what I do.
Yeah, man.
I don't want to say that because
I seen a couple of the still shots from your upcoming video here, and I know they're not color graded or anything yet, but the framing on them, the shots are phenomenal, man.
It looks very professional.
Yeah, they're all shot in camera, which was it was really hard to make that happen because the producers didn't want to put a lot of effort into the grade and post production. Which is annoying for someone like me. I appreciate it when they take their time.
Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna rush this thing. But I had to get that everything like color wise and with what is there. I had to develop in camera so that way it'd make their life easier in post production. And it's pretty close. It'll be pretty close to the final look, more than likely. But it'll have a little bit better tones really. Once they get that done. But yeah, I don't know. I've got everything else against me, it seems like. So it's like, I better be telling myself I'm really good at something.
Right,
something
man.
like,
you got your skills going for you for sure.
Well,
yeah, I mean, right now.
So it's if I got my count correct, you have five children.
Got 5 kids.
Yeah, and you seem like a very loving father.
Man. I do have 6. Technically, I do have 6. So my wife and I lost a baby. We lost a baby when we were still at the. No, my wife was pregnant. I'm sorry. My wife was pregnant when she left the house after we had our newborn son. So like Irish twins, basically.
Wow. Okay.
And then she went down to Texas for her grandmother's funeral, and we were having all kinds of issues right in that little realm of time. And she miscarried down in Texas.
I'm so sorry, man.
Sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah, it was, I was a little like apart from it because I was still here, and she was in Texas for her grandmother's funeral. And it was like the morning of, like, she went to the bathroom and that was it. She was like, she called me. Yeah. She had called me trying to talk, couldn't talk. So her sisters and, one of her like cousins was trying to talk to me, and then they ended up hanging up on me because they were basically like, "Fuck this guy."
So I've heard of grief being able to cause that before. Extreme emotion like that can be detrimental. I'm so sorry for you, man. That's heartbreaking. It seems like you're a very loving father, though, man, and to go through all that struggle and to still keep your family as the most important thing, man, that's huge. It's really fucking huge.
It's tough, man. I'll tell you, because you got to balance it so much. So I like to travel for work, and when I'm gone, I've got to find the sweet spot. Because like I can't even shave right now because my newborn, or she's not my newborn, but my 1-year-old. I shaved like a month ago, and I never normally do it, but I went completely clean shaven. And I mean, I had facial hair, like I was sitting probably down to here, and I shaved, and she was calling, she can say like daddy, like as clear as day. The second she saw me after I shaved, she didn't say anything else. Like she completely stopped saying it. And I was like, I can't shave anymore.
Wow.
So
it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So that mirrors my last shaving story. Pretty almost on par.
Well, I mean, on kind of a side subject, our man Jimmy here just lost his beard. So this is the first time our listeners are getting to see him. He had nice length
right here.
Oh man,
it got caught.
Oh man,
go ahead, you tell the story.
Just a few days ago, actually.
We were the bearded brothers.
Yeah, I was doing.
He's like, I don't know if I want to.
I was doing some construction and was drilling, using a hammer drill to drill into some concrete, and my beard got wrapped in the hammer drill, and
face was way too close.
Yeah.
Did it rip it out?
It thankfully didn't, like, it was long enough to where, like, I was able to stop the drill, but the drill bit had already cut the hair, so I was just like, time to... I had to shave it down.
Yeah, this is the first time we get to see Jimmy somewhat baby-faced in like 4 years.
I look 12.
Man.
I don't like it.
For me, it's the first time.
Hopefully here...
He walked in, and I went, who the fuck?
Oh, my God. Oh, that's great. Well, hopefully, I mean, are you guys out in New York, right?
We are.
Yeah.
I'll probably be out that way pretty soon. I've got one of the producers and bigger guys that I guess I kind of work with pretty often. I never watched it, but I know that he was on it. The show Trading Spaces.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. He was one of the designers on that, and he's on like Good Morning America and all the others little stuff all the time. And then with the SAG and WGA strike, I think he got like an exception to go on for something. So I think he said if he gets that, or if the exception goes through, I think was the last time I was talking to him, that he's going to pull me in and try to, I guess, get me on Good Morning America or something, which
Very
I'm like,
cool.
okay, I don't know what am I gonna say, and be like, yeah, like I'm here, like
What's up, guys?
Good Morning America.
All right,
So
guys,
you
how
talk
we gotta
about
give
you
these-
pretty much. This is your warm up interview for Good Morning America. There you go.
You just got to shorten it down to like 5-10 minutes because
Cliff notes, because they.
yeah. Well, I mean, his is more so for like the cinematography and like
Right.
film stuff, which is cool.
Specific
but
aspect.
I've got a bunch of like little things coming up. I've got a Mark Wahlberg project that I got brought into that I'll be working on.
Cool.
Right on.
I'm trying to think. There's a bunch of like little tiny like minuscule things like short films and stuff that are like weekend one-offs and whatnot. But it keeps you. It keeps you busy. But yeah.
What's the name of the film that that we've seen the pictures of?
So that one is called American Criminals.
Okay.
And they brought out, if you ever see it, two things. Take it with a grain of salt, because somebody that doesn't know like everything about putting together a trailer or whatever made this thing. And it's not been color graded either. So some guy that was on set somehow got a hold of some of the footage and made a trailer. And it's pretty rough. It's, for what it's supposed to do, is basically just attract attention. But it's not, in my opinion, it's not going to attract attention, especially when you talk about the quality of the edit versus the quality of the footage. But they're working on like a real trailer right now that's getting ready to be released from the last time that I was able to talk to the editor. But yeah, some kid made this little like sizzle trailer. Like it looks like he put it on iMovie. Like, I mean, and not to, dock him. He's a great guy, and I absolutely love him. His name's Taylor Holler. And he's a great actor for some of the stuff that I've seen him in. But it's just, I have a higher standard, if you take a peek at it and you're like, holy cow, this is a little rough.
I'm not going to lie. I was just trying to web search it real quick. I was trying to find it.
So you could probably find it. There's like an American Criminals Facebook page or Facebook group. And it's, I don't know, man, it's something. But the whole story is the story itself is pretty cool. It was basically is a recreation of a 1924 murder that took place between Nathan Leopold and Richard Loeb. They killed this kid named Bobby Franks because they wanted to commit the perfect motiveless crime. And they only got caught because they found Nathan's glasses. So they were like right there.
Wow.
But it's pretty good. It's a pretty good movie, or pretty good story. There's some,
So
we started shooting it.
You shot all this? It really, it looks great, dude. I haven't pulled the teaser itself up yet, but like all the pictures I've seen just look great. Like the story looks awesome, and that was really loud.
It
looks like something up my alley.
Trying to make that look as good as it did was a nightmare.
Yeah, I don't want to go through and actually watch it
because they're rough too. Yeah,
but I just want to Can you guys see the photos here?
You saw them when you had them up earlier.
These are a little different. I'm just kind of scrolling.
Yeah,
through
there's some
the trailer here and showing them the shots. But
were you able to find it?
Yep. Yeah, I pulled it right up after you said the Facebook.
Yeah, man, that trailer is rough. Like the way they did it,
okay.
But, power to the guy that put it together. I mean, if it was his first editing thing, it's not terrible, but he also had pretty good footage to work with, which is usually not the case.
Right.
But yeah, it's a pretty interesting story. There's talk about reshoots on it because a lot of before the strike started, we were going to have some really large A-list on there. That is literally larger than life, the kinds of people that you dream of working with and somehow get involved with. But then the strike happened, or the strike was or the WGA was already going on, but the SAG strike hadn't started yet. But I guess the probably top like 10% of SAG already knew they were going to go on strike, so they weren't going to approve any major projects. So they were like, yeah, there's no sense in getting, you know, someone that's known around the world in this kind of project because it makes no sense.
Because they're going to pull out, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So, yeah, you know, gotta love it. But
I will say
now
I'm probably gonna watch this movie, and I mean, A, it's my type of movie, and then B, it looks really good, dude. You did a good job.
I appreciate it. I really do. Considering some of the people that I was working with were driving me up a wall. I thought I was gonna. There was a couple of days, some people thought I was gonna kill somebody because I was like, no, this is not how this gets shot. This is not how this movie gets ran. This is not how a set is supposed to go. But
yeah, so I actually, I can I ask you about directing? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
So I understand you are the director of photography. So basically, you line up all the shots. You're in charge of the cameras. What do you find most challenging about that?
There's quite a bit, I think, that's challenging because it's not just one thing. It's like everything all at once. So you have like your set designer, you have your gaffer, you know, who lights the whole thing. You have your makeup artists, your hairstylists, your talent itself, wardrobe. Let's see, like, I mean, and then if you count like all the other jobs, like your grips and whatnot, when you start factoring all that stuff into like trying to make a picture, or basically you're painting a picture is the whole point of it. You know, a lot of people think you just put your camera up and you have what you have, and that's supposed to be it. But there's like little details that you know people miss. I would say the hardest part for me is I have a very specific way that I like to shoot. I want a way more dramatic feel, so I want like half of the face to be like kind of dark, where you can still see it and everything, but that's that moody vibe or whatever. Probably getting out of my own way is probably one of the hardest things for me, because I have a specific way I like to do things, and allowing somebody to take complete control, and requiring myself to be more collaborative is probably the hardest part of it, I would say. But
I feel that one personally.
But I would just,
I'm sure the guys feel that from me. So,
and it's not like a control thing, but like, you know, when it comes down to it, you know, if I'm the guy that's responsible for every detail of the page or of the image that I'm looking at, I've got to at least give everybody a chance to do their job, you know, and not put them at a pass or fail, because, you know, some things might be off. Somebody might have missed a detail. But I think if let's say we just took out like my personal part of it, I would say that probably the hardest part in itself is probably composition. So that's basically everything you see in a picture. So how you can frame them up however you want, but it's like the little things in the background, like the area that they're in, how that tells the story. So like if you were to look at those shots, for instance, or the stills of those, where there's one where there's actually two, they're sitting on a bench in a hallway. There's Robert Donovan, who is the older guy in that. We shot that one first and got everything we needed there. But if you were to look at it in real life, on the other side of that shot, so if we were doing it from his back, you would see like a terrible looking hallway. It's nothing but white walls. And it's really not that great to look at. So just, there was no composition. There was nothing that kept the story consistent. So what we actually did, is all three of those guys in that shot walked to the other wall in front of them, changed position. So it's essentially they did a 180.
Okay.
And the hallway that you see is the exact same direction in the exact same hallway, just on the opposite side of the hall.
Gotcha.
So I think probably like that in regard to composition. So it's kind of thinking outside of the box, because you don't think about it, because your brain naturally goes, well, I have my left and I have my right, but you don't realize you can also make your left the right as well. And so you really have to like think differently.
Okay.
And not be so like I guess closed-minded. I think is maybe the right word for it.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense when you explain it like that, man. You know, personally, even with doing like the studio, I personally don't even kind of take that into consideration. But you know, an interesting background can make all the difference.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's weird how much it changes everything. Like. I think so many people get so hung up on you just want to get something shot that you don't think about the details outside of the people that you're shooting.
Right.
You just think, oh, well, that's what I need, and that tells the story. But I'm getting ready to, or we have released it now. There's a short film that we have put out to film festivals, one of which is Cannes. We've got somebody pulling for us at Sundance as well. That, you know, it was a 1 weekend shoot. We didn't put, you know, everything that we had into it, but we had amazing locations. We had people in there in advance to like set everything up for us. And it's like a Hallmark type story. And that one will be, I don't even know what they'll do with it or when they're going to release that one. I just know they've already submit to a bunch of festivals. But like just that composition, man, I tell you, like you think you've got it sometimes, and then you're like, man, that's usually what I find is the thing that makes me bang my head against a wall when I'm like, this doesn't look right. That's usually why. It has nothing to do with the actual shot itself, but usually the direction, or there's nothing in the background, or it's, you know, it's too plain, whatever it might look like. So, but yeah, so now, I actually, in addition to that, I've got this contract that I just picked up now. It's going to range a little bit. So we went and shot, some corporate stuff with one of my other companies, and we did a shoot at a dealership, and that spread like wildfire from the dealership, and we ended up picking up the entire automotive group as a client. So
wow, good for you.
We're sitting on anywhere, it's going to depend, like monthly it'll change, but it can't fall below $150,000 a month for that client. So we'll probably be average in the ballpark of about $200 to $250 per month to shoot content for them, which, you know, then the next goal after that is to go straight to the manufacturers, because I would really like to shoot like a Dodge or Chevy commercial.
That'd be dope.
I've shot some drone stuff for a Subaru commercial, but I didn't get any credit for it, so I was like, whatever. But now I'm like, I need to do more and be the guy that's getting a, you know, $100,000 truck sent to him as a thank you. That would be really nice.
That would be real cool, right?
Like, you nailed this commercial. Here's your bonus.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Cool and like a nice amazing truck.
Free and clear at that. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Like, I mean, the cars I've got now, I mean, I own them, but it's, you know, one of them's a rust bucket getting ready to fall apart. The other one's got motor issues, and I'm like, I haven't had the time to sit down and fix everything, and it's like a week-long job. So,
right.
You know,
as usually most automotive projects are.
I can take care of everybody else's stuff, but it's just my own. I cannot apparently find the time for.
That's how it always goes until it's like in the ground and you really have to do it.
You have no choice.
Yeah, you're like, okay, the motor fell out, so now I got to figure out how to fix this thing.
It's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
that's a normal thing. Man. I think we all feel that.
Yeah, been there.
That's always the worst. It's
Yeah.
always the worst. Excuse me.
God bless
Goodness.
All I can think of is like the equivalent of you're driving and you just look down, you see your check engine light on, and you're like, no, it's gonna go off.
I'll check it at some point.
Yep. I've done that. Heck, half the time I drive mine right now and I'm like, oh man, I just hope you're not an engine like failure code. Like that's all I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Like if I can get you down to like the gas station, I'm good. And then I get there and I'm like, if I can just get you home, I should be okay. And it's just the next, just always moving the goalposts.
It's always a challenge. Yep.
We're all there. Don't worry, dude.
Oh my gosh.
You said you might be coming up to New York sometime soon, man. When do you think that might happen?
So a buddy of mine, they're the one I was telling you about. He's kind of pressing me to come up there right now. I think he's only going to be in New York for like 3 weeks to a month or something. But he's been begging me. He lives on the Upper East Side. And I mean, I don't know much about New York. I've been to New York. I've gone all over New York, but I don't know everything about it. I know where Central Park is. I know where the 9/11 Memorial is. I don't actually give a fuck about the Statue of Liberty because it's not as extravagant as people make it out to be.
I agree with you on that.
You know, I know where the why am I fucking forgetting what it's called?
Empire State Building? Or the
No,
Lego Building. That's my next most important one.
No, neither one of those. What's the museum down there? The art museum. No, it's
wow, why am I forgetting?
It's by Central Park.
It's not the MAG.
I don't know.
The Met.
Is it the MAG?
The Met.
The Met. Yes,
Met.
Thank you. There you go.
Yep. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, the MAG. The MAG is our art museum here in Rochester. That's what I was thinking. I
tell you what, I hate the subway.
Oh, dude, I don't know if I'd ever want to travel on the subway. So we're from up in Rochester. We're what, 8 hours away, 9 hours
Upstate.
away? Yeah.
8 or 9 hours away. You can get to Albany in probably about 7.5.
I've actually never even been to New York City.
Nope, me neither.
I've been in New York City.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's,
I went to the cesspool once.
The cesspool. Yeah. So we're
honestly, it's so not all it's cracked up.
So I want to say it's only like 6 or 7 hours.
Yeah. I have a friend who loves going. My wife loves it too. She's begging me to take her sometime soon, so I will end up going.
I lied. I've been twice.
Yeah, we're like right below Lake Ontario, pretty much.
Yeah. Yep.
And see, I would much rather be there because it's more suburb and livable space. Like I can't do without my space. And being in New York, man, like I was looking just to like for shits and giggles when I was up there, and it's like $3,000 for a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yeah,
that is like, I mean, you can touch on both sides. Yeah, and so I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like, so how those of us that live in New York kind of like view it. So this is how it is. So you have New York State.
Yeah.
And New York City.
Yeah, it's kind of its own place.
It is because they get their own taxes and everything. Like they're like when you file taxes in New York, are you from New York City or are you from the rest of the damn state?
I always forget about that.
Yeah, dude, that's insane.
It's crazy.
Do they pay more taxes in the city?
It's different somehow or some way.
I think they pay more taxes, and because of their population size, I think
the density. Yeah.
It's something to do with that. But yeah, it's wild, man.
It's insane.
One thing,
if you do go.
One thing with like the size of New York City and all that, the only reason why they can function is because how bad they tax us.
Yeah, well, that's definitely the truth.
Yeah,
it's bullshit.
I could see that.
What were you saying, though?
I could see that. I was going to say, have any of you? Well, I guess for those that have actually been in New York City, have you ever been to Cats?
No.
Oh man. Okay, so you have to go to this deli. Is what it is. It's called Cats. It is like.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the Broadway show.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
No.
So expecting that too.
He was like, "What? This guy's bringing up cats. Like it's like one
I was
worst
down for it.
Plays ever.
Listen, man, I watched The Lion King.
The Lion King is much different. Okay, at the you still have Mufasa. All right, you still have Scar.
Right. Thank you.
Like I'm not. I would rather hear roar, not meow. And like that's my thing. But like cats is like this this like deli, and they have like absolutely amazing Reuben. If you like Reubens,
yeah, nice.
Oh my gosh!
No,
you go there. Oh, I mean, it was to die for. Best Reuben, and I only got it because I was like, I want to get some info on this, and I happen to like check out like a lot of these like restaurants, or whatever. It's super touristy. Don't get me wrong; it's super annoying, and you go in there and there's easily like 150 people in there, but it moves quick, and it is probably the best Reuben you'll ever eat in your life because it's like all made in front of you. Oh, it's so good.
Nice.
Talking about delis and
challenge
shit.
accepted.
Right. We know something about Reubens.
Now talking about like delis and like whatnot, like sandwich places in like different cities. So if you ever go to Pittsburgh, you have to check out Primanti Brothers. One of the best sandwich places I have ever gone to. So they kind of like they're kind of around like where like the stadium is in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And they came up with a sandwich where they put like French fries and like coleslaw and stuff on the sandwich. And you create like a specialty sandwich, like with whatever you want to put on it. When I was first kind of told them, I was like, "Who puts coleslaw and French fries on a sandwich?"
But then you tell someone
sounds pretty good.
You tell someone about a garbage plate here in Rochester, and
they look at you funny.
That's fair.
All right, so I gotta ask your opinion, man. We have a thing here in Rochester. They're called garbage plates. It's home fries, mac salad. Usually either hot dogs or hamburgers just laid on top, and then mustard, ketchup, and we do what's called meat hot sauce. So it's like a ground beef based hot sauce, and it's just like smothered on there, and you just dig into it, man. Does that sound appealing to you?
Yeah, a little bit actually.
Okay,
there you go.
They're really good. They're really good.
I'm if I can get fat off of it, or if it's not going to have any nutritional value, probably going to be.
Oh yeah.
All day.
If you ever come to visit, we'll get you.
It's the best thing for a hangover, bar none.
Oh yeah.
It's probably because as soon as it hits your stomach, it absorbs everything.
Yeah. It's good for that.
It's like, oh man, yeah. I have to come out and try that. That sounds actually pretty good.
Oh yeah, man. If you're ever in there, let us know.
We'll treat you for sure.
Oh yeah.
I will. That definitely sounds pretty good.
Any excuse for
I think
a plate.
I know.
Never need an excuse for a plate.
My wife's been itching for a trip too, so I'm like, normally it's like she wants me to take her to Florida, and I'm like, okay, it's fine, it's nice, it's warm, and I only go to one part of Florida because I've been to so I was stationed at Pensacola.
Yeah. Okay.
Hate it, but I will stay there like a little ways away in Perdido Key. Super touristy, but it's quiet, and the only people that tour there are like 50 to 80-year-olds.
Yes, so it's very quiet.
And
snowbirds.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're ever interested, man, we're about an hour away from Niagara Falls, so
we have good weather.
I probably.
Oh yeah.
In about October, like the beginning of October. It's either the seventh circle of hell or like the second.
Yeah, you're either freezing.
That's fair.
You're either cold or
I
too
can't say
fucking
anything. It's been like 98 degrees with 100% humidity here for like 2 weeks straight.
Nope. All right.
So
you got it.
Yeah, come here. We're nice and balmy in comparison.
I can literally walk. Like if I looked outside my window, probably not right now, but if I looked outside my window, if I have these like curtains pulled, one side will be cold and the other side will be covered in water because all of the humidity cooling back down and seeing all those water droplets. It's so bad.
No thanks, man. No thanks.
It's horrible. And like you go out and like,
Everything
it's
just
like
starts
the worst.
sticking to you immediately.
Yes.
Oh, fuck that.
And it's bad when plastic and glass and like even my phone gets a whole layer of like water in this weather. It's
that's
horrible.
Weird. I would have never even thought about that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, when I lived
because
in
it comes from inside where it's all nice and cool. He goes outside. It takes a minute for it to warm up.
Yeah. Wow.
When I used to live in North Carolina in the summer, I couldn't keep my phone in my pocket. Because between the amount that I would sweat and how wet my phone would get, and then just the sheer fact of how fucking hot it was, I went through 2 phones.
Man.
One overheated and like shit the bed, and then the other got waterlogged. Part from fucking being outside working out.
Yep. Swamp ass.
Yeah.
What part of North Carolina?
Middlesex. So, ironically enough, I lived in North Carolina for the sole purpose to actually go into the Marine Corps myself. I won't get into all that shit, but didn't happen. I'm one of those people who almost went in.
No, you're good.
You're supposed to laugh.
I think the people that
opportunity.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. It's always funny, but I think people blow it up more than like what they need to. Like, okay, you almost went in and then great. Like something happened. Like life fucking happens. So but then other people are like, you can't.
Yeah, but so for me, like I was 2 hours and 45 minutes from Parris Island, so I was more the middle but south middle part of the state, if that kind of makes sense. So I was near like the mountains, like just to the point where short drive, you're right there where all the military bases were.
See, as soon as so I have to take 77 south, right? As soon as I get out of West Virginia, I just continue on or take that 77 south. And I'm on it through, I don't know where she's at now. She used to live in Mount Airy. Then she moved to Jacksonville. Then she moved back to Mount Airy. And then she moved to Jonesville. And then moved to Elkin. So she's in Yadkin Valley.
Man, in 2 years, 3 years?
Goddamn.
Let's see. In the last couple of years, I think she's only been in like Jonesville and Elkin, I think. But like long term, like she's been everywhere in North Carolina. I was just wondering. I was like, I wonder if he was close to there. I was like, he might know the same people. It's like we could open up some stories.
Oh, no. we don't want to hear about Maddie's stories down there.
The coolest, craziest story I have is, you guys ever heard of lizard lick towing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I got to watch an episode of their show being shot at their place because it was a 25-minute drive from where I lived. It was like...
Did they turn it into a tourist destination?
No, ironically enough, they had big signs for the place and all that. And I drove by it like 3 times with my uncle when I first went down there, and I'm like, I fucking know that name. I've seen that fucking sign. I've been down here for a month, but like, I know that from somewhere. And we were driving by one time. They had all the shit like blocked out, and they were like all being all dramatic out in front. And I'm like, holy shit! I've seen that guy on TV, and my uncle's like, yeah, dumbass, it's Lizard Lick Towing for, like, the TV show. He's like, all around our area, they do a lot of their episodes and shit. Like, they did one at, like, some trailer court kind of, like, turnoff that was, like, around the corner from my uncle. Like, he was showing me shit. I got to meet...
Makes you wonder if it was actually real or if it was staged.
Oh, 100% staged. With all, like, the different, like, shit that gets blocked off, and you can tell, like, the film crew and shit. Yeah, it's 100%.
Yeah, well, so any of that kind of shit has to be staged, man. Any of those, I mean, unless you're watching like actual it's not cops anymore. What do they call it? Patrol
PD?
Or PD? Yeah,
PD Live or something.
That one I'll give is probably pretty realistic. But you watch any of those Dog the Bounty Hunter or anything like that, that shit's all staged.
Think about this: you pull up at someone's house in North Carolina to take their car, and you think they're just going to come out and yell at you?
No, they're gonna come out shooting.
Come on.
Yeah, that's probably that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, that's a state where you can pound on someone's door. They can be like, that sounded a little aggressive. Pop. Don't even have to get off the couch.
Shoot first, think later.
Yeah.
or shoot first, ask questions later, whatever version you wanna throw out there.
Either way,
shoot them all. Let God sort them out.
Yeah, right.
All right. Before this episode gets too dark, Johnny, do you want to say anything else before we hop off here, man?
No, man. I don't necessarily think so. I mean, if anybody's, I guess, has questions or whatever, I mean, I'll send you my some of my like links and stuff. I mean, they're more than welcome to reach out or whatever.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
For any of you guys, for sure.
Do you want to plug your social media or anything?
I mean, I can.
It's up to you, man.
Most everything, like for me personally, is under Johnny the DP. So it's usually Johnny_the_DP. I think that's for like Instagram.
I dig it.
I think it's LinkedIn. Whatever other ones. I mean, it just kind of depends.
Pornhub.
And then
Jesus Christ.
listen.
Had to go there, Maddie.
Hey, don't tell my wife, but I already have an in if I want it.
Nice.
Hey.
Nice.
So we're not.
Gets to hold his own camera too.
POV style, baby.
Now we're talking POV. Here we go.
Oh shit!
And I call this the Skywalker Tunnel.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. There's. I feel like there's a million things wrong with why it should be called the Skywalker Tunnel.
Or a million things right. Come on.
Maybe.
It ain't the Death Star be blowing up today, baby.
Matthew.
Oh man. I think we went past dark. I think we passed it.
I tried to get us out of here.
That's him.
I'm not going to apologize.
No, I'll send some stuff over to you as well, just so you have that. I mean, I don't know, however you need to put it out or when you put out episodes or whatever. So
yeah, it'll probably be a couple of weeks. I got a couple built up that I got to put out. But I'll put it in. I'll put all your information in the show description, and the YouTube description, so people can contact you if they want. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I don't put everything on the same platform either, so it makes you work for it. So
nice.
I'll have some stuff on one platform, then you got to jump to the next to watch more. And it sounds really familiar because now the girls on TikTok, they put their thirst traps on TikTok, all right? Then they make you go to their Instagram to check out more, and that's where you find the OnlyFans links and stuff. So
see, that's what you got to do. You got to shoot a thirst trap.
I just took their mentality
right behind it.
Yeah, I just took their mentality and just adapted it to what I do,
see,
which is
smart.
not OnlyFans.
Well, it makes the people who are actually interested in you fucking actually look for you, and it shows them by the time you get in contact with them that, hey, okay, these people are actually gonna. I mean, we try.
I kind of do something similar for the show, though. I throw out TikTok, so it draws people to the Facebook, so it draws people to the podcast.
Yeah,
something similar.
Yeah.
I never really thought about it.
Yeah. So we just got to shoot a thirst trap and just have it linked right to where our show description.
Maddie, I hope you're ready to get naked.
You know what's crazy? I guarantee you could probably put together a whole video of just like nothing but fake thirst traps, or make one for everybody, and I guarantee you that's one of those is going to go viral, and you're going to hate yourself for it. But then this podcast is going to blow up bigger than you thought it would.
You guys are so screwed. We're only haven at behaven.com.
I'm telling you, there is a market for it.
All right, Johnny,
and you could totally do it.
We're gonna talk on a private level here.
I think our DP's getting ideas.
Oh
man.
So when that movie goes to box office, we'll take a couple tickets, right?
Yeah. So where is that movie coming out? Is that going to be on the big screen? Is that going to be Netflix?
It's going to be on the big screen.
Nice.
I haven't gotten all the details yet from the producer, but it's, I would imagine, so everything that I shoot at the minimum quality that Netflix allows.
Okay.
So like for their audio, their resolution, all that stuff. So I don't see a reason why it couldn't or wouldn't end up on Netflix, but I don't know what that's going to look like, especially now with all the strikes and stuff happening and all the crap.
Things are turbulent right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I know they have a theatrical release that they're going to do, and they've already partnered with some theaters. I mean, I know they're covering, I think, all of the state of Illinois for sure. I don't know how far it's going to go or what the intention is there, but I would imagine it's probably going to go up on all the streamers. I just don't know who's going to. It just depends on the distributor that buys it and then where they distribute it to from there.
Okay,
right,
cool, man. Definitely interested in checking that out
for sure.
Like I said, it looks like you did a great job shooting it. So, that's my.
Well, I hope so.
Dude, my wife picks some of the crappiest scary movies sometimes, and they're just shot so bad. And I'm like, bro, my iPhone shoots better than this. What are you doing?
I know those people. I know those people, man, and they just don't learn. They just don't stop. But hey, it's a genre. Like, people really like that really crappy, like, horror film.
I don't get it, but I don't judge either. So
hey, we watch some crappy horror films every once in a while on here too.
That's true. Once a month we do marijuana stoner theater, so we watch
there you go. That sounds like
movies.
A blast.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It is.
That sounds like a blast.
We usually have fun with it.
Sounds like a great time.
Awesome. All right. So Johnny, thanks for coming on, man. We'll talk to you again sometime soon.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. You guys have a good one.
You too, man.
And that's a wrap, dudes. Thank you for joining us on this wild and wonderful journey through the Dude to Dude podcast. We hope you've enjoyed the laughter, the insights, and the endless curiosity that fuels our conversations. And remember, the fun doesn't stop here. Stay connected with us on our website and our social media platforms to keep up with the latest updates, behind-the-scenes shenanigans, and upcoming episodes. We're grateful for each and every one of you who tunes in, shares our content, and spreads the Dude to Dude spirit. Your support means the world to us, and we can't wait to continue this adventure together. Until next time, keep being awesome, keep exploring, and keep those open minds wide open, dudes.